Hello, everybody. To my old friends, welcome back. If you are just joining us now, welcome. Thank you so much. My name is Victoria, and I am, in fact, the astrologer. I am also the herbalist, the daughter of Mother Gaia, all around witchy lady that is here to help you on your spiritual path, your spiritual journey. And today we are talking about this full moon in Aries, or as it is traditionally called, the harvest moon. So we'll look at it from both aspects, tie it in together, and see what the energy is asking us to step into right now. All right, so first things first, let's clarify one thing. When we are talking about the earth aspect of any of these lunations or any of the solstices, equinox, anything, I am talking about this from my perspective from the northern hemisphere. The closest city to me is Boston, Massachusetts. So if you are perhaps in the southern hemisphere, Australia, places like this, you're going to be in the reverse. When we are going into the winter here, you are going into the summer. So while the astrology is the same, you're looking at it from an earthly perspective in the opposite order. And you can find ways to tie them both in simply by allowing yourself to feel into the opposing energy. If we're talking about going within and going to a slow time, you're the opposite. You're starting to emerge from without, taking everything you've learned and you're going out. So that being said, let's talk about this harvest moon. And why I want to talk about the harvest moon first is because this is a really special full moon. Every full moon, except for this one, has an association with the Gregorian calendar and the earth itself. So a lot of times if you look at a farmer's almanac, you're going to see that it says in January, it is the wolf moon. In June, it is the strawberry moon. You will see in the month of September and October specific moons. Traditionally, the September moon is the corn moon because corn is in full harvest right now. But every year after the equinox, the autumnal equinox, we have the first full moon, which turns from whatever it may be, whether it is the corn moon or the hunter moon, depending on what month it falls in, corn being September, hunters being in October, it turns into the harvest moon. This is the only moon that changes its name because of the equinox. So this is the harvest moon because it is the harvest season. And this is a really, really unique moon. This is the only moon, and this is not just right now, the harvest moon every year, the first full moon after the autumnal equinox, is visible for about 2 days before the actual full moon and 2 days after. The moon actually looks completely full and illuminated and big and bright. So you have like 5 nights of this beautiful big full moon. This is really rare. This doesn't happen ever. Technically, this has a lot to do with the axis of the earth and the rotation and everything's moving. But our ancestors looked at this as a time of blessing where we have a little bit extra light for extended hours and extended days at the end of every harvest season. So if we're going back to our ancestors, it doesn't matter where they lived, as long as they were in the northern hemisphere, they were going in and harvesting their crop for the year, preparing for winter. So that's why this moon is so important, because it's the only one that is illuminated for this long, and it's marking the end of the harvest season. Now, traditionally, this is actual harvest, grains, fruit. There's probably not that many fruit, but I mean, there's some tomatoes left. So yes, fruit, vegetables, things like this. We're getting to the very end of the harvest. There's one more harvest close to Samhain or Halloween, but really the big bountiful harvest we're taking in right now. That also being said, this is the traditional beginning of winter. So we're bringing everything in, we're planning for winter. This can mean both physically, bringing in the harvest, we're figuring out what we have left that's still growing, we're getting close to the very end. We're also seeing that this is almost the end of our active time in our community. We're not going to be out and about as much. And for us in the modern world, it's the same thing. We're not typically as active in the winter as we are in the summer. So during this time where we're closing in on those darker months, we really want to get together and we really want to be with our friends and family. And we want to celebrate that we have this beautiful daylight, that we have some warmth during the day. So this is an important, pivotal time in the yearly cycle from the perspective of, hey, we're here on Earth. Yes, we are absolutely spiritual beings in a flesh suit that we call a human body, having the human experience. And I think a lot of times we get hung up on the spiritual side and we forget that we're human and we're here to have that human experience. So aligning ourselves with the natural fall of the seasons, you get it. Aligning ourselves with the natural rhythm of the seasons is so important because we're connecting into why we're here. We came here in this body, in this place, in this time to have the earthly human experience. So definitely use the autumnal things that are happening right now and feel into this harvest moon. And I'm going to switch you over here. And we're going to talk about the harvest moon a little bit more in depth because, as I said, this is the time where we're bringing in the harvest, both physical, we're bringing in the pumpkins, we're bringing in the corn, but we're also looking at it from a communal standpoint and a standpoint of ourselves. We're getting ready to go into a very inward time. The things that we're starting to take note of in our natural world are changing. The leaves on all of the trees and the plants are starting to change color and they're starting to die off. We're also starting to see different wildlife. And as someone who works very closely with the natural world and has always had a connection to our animal brothers and sisters, I wanted to point this out because no matter where you live, you're going to be able to see some of these beings out and about. Now, I understand if you're looking at this like, girl, there ain't no bears near me. I get it. But you can still tap into this energy. And the big three that I'm going to talk about are the owl, the deer, and the bear. So all three of these really represent the themes that fit for this harvest moon. The deer being our intuition. It is our instinctual knowing of what we need to do when. So many of us forget that we have an inner knowing and we just kind of go along with what we're told to do or what's happening and we go against what we feel. That gut instinct knowing, that feeling of maybe I shouldn't do that, or maybe I just should do this, that calling to go outside, that calling to be away, that calling to be with people, that is important to you in your life journey. It's really important that at this time we're listening to this because again, we're getting ready to go inward. So we're preparing for that. The owl is also very significant for this because the owl represents in almost every culture across the world, going all the way back to ancient Rome, ancient Greece, all of them. Every culture has looked at the owl as a sign of wisdom. This can be wisdom that is not so exciting in terms of the end of life cycle. Yep. But this can also be wisdom of a deep knowing from elders. So this is again a time where we're coming to that close where we're going to see our grandparents. Spend the time with them now, tell the stories, talk about things, get advice from people that have lived longer than you. The owl is very significant. We're starting to see them. I know I have walked out and seen them like right in my yard. There was one that was so close. If I had a ladder, I could have reached up and touched him. I would never do that. Please don't go touch the wildlife. Okay? Please don't do that. But the owls are out. You can hear them now. Tap into that whole energy bubble of wisdom, whether it be understanding that, unfortunately, life cycles do end, or whether it's tapping into life cycles end and I want to learn from those that have come before me. Very important. The last one I want to point out, I think this one's kind of obvious. The bear. The bear right now are all getting ready to go into hibernation. So just like we talked about with the earth part, the corn, the pumpkins, all of that, preparing for the winter, this is your last chance to really start prepping for winter. What is it that you need to do when you get into that winter season? Because, friends, I feel it too. We all get into that dark, cold winter and it's this depressive feeling because you're locked up. Like, I just want to go outside. I don't want to be stuck in a house all the time. I get it. What can you do to help you get through that winter blues period? That's what the bear is asking you to tap into. So these three animal totems can really help you. You can simply reflect on the themes that I've presented you with, or you could meditate on them. You could draw art that is connected to them. You could sculpt art that is connected to them. You could go observe their behaviors, whether that be in the wild. YouTube, you got it. The internet's a freeze. So go and look and see, kind of learn from them, read about them, because these are guides that are going to help us through in this natural cycle. Now let's hop over to talking about the actual astrology of this. So this full moon from the earth side is all about prepping to go inward. On the astrological side, this full moon is in the sign of Aries, which if you know anything about astrology and you start thinking about it, you're like, girl, what? You said we're going in, but this is Aries, which is the beginning? Hold on. All right. Think about this for a minute. Aries is the leader. Aries is the first. Aries is the go-getter, the inventor. But Aries is ruled by Mars. Mars is active. Mars is passionate. Mars is war. Keep that in mind. So when we're looking at this from two sides and melding them together, we're learning that this is a time for us to step into our leadership role in our life. Aries in the tarot deck is represented by the Emperor. So think of it this way. It's time for you to become the emperor of your own life. What is a good emperor? Well, in my mind, a good emperor is someone that leads from a deep knowing within their heart. They're honest, they're pure. If you are to become the emperor in your own life, you need to be honest. You need to be pure with your intention and your action. And to do that from an elevated, higher vibrational place requires reflection. If you just pop off and go, you're fully embodying Aries. Absolutely. But remember, Aries is ruled by Mars, which is the planet of war. Sometimes we pop too much and we cause war, which is why whenever we talk about full moons, we have to remember the other axis where the sun is, which is in Libra, which Mars happens to be in the sign of Libra. So really, we're becoming the emperor, understanding what it is that's so important to us that we are really willing to go to war for. But fall into that other side of Libra, what are we going to make compromises in for the name of peace? Now, Libra rules over our relationships, whether they be romantic, platonic, your coworker, your neighbor, your dog, it doesn't matter. Your relationships fall under Libra. So we are going in and we are reevaluating and understanding what it is that's important in our relationships from a standpoint of, I'm an individual person. What do I need? What do I believe? What's so important to me that I'm willing to wage war? Yeah, okay, don't take that literal. Don't go out and do harm to anybody or anything, right? We're talking hypothetically, right? We're having a war with, maybe you're not in the right relationship and you need to sever that tie. Whether that be romantically, it can be with family, it can be with friends, but are you ready to go to war and end something? Or are you ready to compromise and find peace? Either answer, whatever is true in your soul is what's right for you. I do want to point out that Mars is in a sextile with Venus. So sextiles, as we know, are very comfortable aspects. It's easy. It's not as easy as a trine, but it feels good. It's just a comfortable energy. Venus, as we know, is the sign of our heart, and Venus is currently in Leo. Leo is the king. Leo is the lion, the king of the forest. Now, I'd said that Aries is the emperor in tarot, but Leo is the pure king because Leo has evolved. He's gone all the way through the zodiac to get to the point of Leo from Aries. So he's an evolved leader who is comfortable in his deep heart knowing. So this really easy relationship that we have right now between the deep heart knowing and Mars in Libra, our relationships, what are we causing war with? What are we causing peace with? This is a great time to be able to have these really, really deep conversations that need to be had. And they will be productive. Let me tell you, friends, I had one of these for quite a few days in a row. I went through this. I went through a really deep time. And there's conversations that I never thought I was going to have. But after I went through the motions of bringing myself to the place of saying it, having the conversation, having that war between me and the people that it was with, coming out on the other side, life feels so much better. That weight is gone. Gone. The next thing I want to point out is that Venus, while it's not connected to Mars and Aries, Venus is in a square to Uranus. So we know Venus is in I was going to say Taurus. Uranus is in Taurus. Venus is in Leo. Well, we understand what the Venus Leo is. Let's recap. Learn to speak. Let's recap what Uranus and Taurus means. Uranus is the planet of change. It don't care how, it don't care when, it don't care why, it's going to change. Taurus is the sign of the most basic principles of earthly life. Materialism, food, money, all of these things fall in the house of Taurus. So you have change in these things. Friends, do we not see a change in our food sources? What's in our food, where our food's coming from, how we're getting our food? Don't tell me you ain't seeing it in the world of money. It's everywhere, right? So now we have the square between all of this and then our deep heart knowing of Venus in Leo. And then remember, this Venus Leo is in a positive conversation with Aries. Not Aries. Aries rules Mars with Mars, right? So we have this, sum it all up for you. We have this changes coming in your relationships, whether you like it or not. There's a ease there if you're willing to be brave and go into it. And let's throw one more thing in that's not up there. We're in an eclipse season now. Eclipses are, you could go on forever about what an eclipse is, but the basic understanding of eclipses is that this is huge portals to change. You can quantum leap where you are energetically like this, if you tap into the energy that's being asked of you. And what's being asked of you on this full moon? Look at your relationships. What are you willing to go to war for? What are you willing to compromise on? Something will change. Something has to change. Uranus ain't gonna let it stay the same. As I said, I went through this. I've been in a really scary place for a while because I've been going through the darkness of this. And like I said, I went through all of this. And then people can tell you that know me in real life. I had an incredible opportunity pop in out of nowhere because I went through the motions, because I did what I needed to do, what the universe was asking of me, and I felt this huge door completely rip off the hinges wide open. This is why we do this stuff. This is why we look into it. Because, connect it back to the harvest moon, we're about to go inward, both in ourselves and in our communal sense. We're about to spend time thinking, planning, reevaluating. But we can't do that if we don't know what it is we're reevaluating. What do you want for your future? What do you want in your relationships? Aries is all about being the big, brave, bold leader who goes and takes charge. So what is it that you want? This is a perfect time to look at this and see, who am I? What am I? Why am I? I hope that this has helped you, my friends. If you have questions, as I say every time, please, please, please leave them. I'll be happy to answer whatever I can for you. If you liked it, do please give it a like. It does help out. I'm trying to get some more stuff out there for you. I'm not going to do everyday stuff because it just doesn't totally feel right. There's other things in the work that I'm excited to talk to you about, but not quite yet. You'll have to wait and see. And do follow along on Instagram. I'm very open there to talk to many of you that way. So again, thank you so much for being here. I'm so honored to have you here. I'm so honored to help walk you through this. And I will see you again very soon. Take care until then, my friends. Have a great full moon.